what are some of the biggest things that have come up for you? Maybe like physical changes, mental changes, spiritual changes. Like what have been the biggest learnings and just observations over the last week?
Yeah, they kind of unfold over time, but I mean, let's start with the physical, because I mean, this is the one that I think is like the potentially least important realm of where fasting comes into play. But I think fasting, it spurs on autophagy and helps with cellular respiration and restoration, where your cells are able to like cleanse themselves and get rid of all the dead ones. And then what I personally have experienced was I went from 236 to 216.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy over
you
a
lost
7-day
20
period.
pounds.
20 pounds.
Yeah.
And I wasn't doing anything. I was just not eating and walking, but it doesn't feel like I don't feel low energy or anything like that, which is kind of crazy. Like my body feels incredible. So I don't know. I almost feel like, I don't really like any sort of like crash dieting or anything like that, but through a fast, I feel like there's something there where your like body starts to preserve itself. But it's like really just like cleansing itself. I also found that I was going to the restroom like constantly. Like I was drinking a ton of water, but I've never gone to the bathroom that many times over the course of a day. Like would go to the bathroom, come sit back down for like 15 minutes and then literally need to go again. So I don't know if it was like my body just like needing to like detox or something like that. It was super interesting just like experiencing that, because I don't know, I had never experienced anything like that before.
Was this, do you remember what day that started?
Like 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So like right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Like when it started, honestly, day 1 through 3 is so unique, because that's when I felt like I was still dealing with like cravings, food desires, like wanting to go out to eat, wanting to just grab something, kind of, craving things, a little bit cranky. And then day 4 hit and it was just like still, like super still. Wasn't craving any food, felt great. Like honestly felt like I could go work out. Worked out this morning, did hot yoga this morning for an hour and 15 minutes. And I was literally telling you this, like my body was reacting the best it has ever reacted to me, like trying to stretch. Like if I wanted to go deeper into a stretch, there was like a lot more there to give. So I was like, is that like low inflammation or just like having lost a little bit of weight through the fast? Like what was kind of spurring that on? So I thought it was really interesting. So when I do these hot yoga classes, usually I sweat like no one has ever sweat in their life. And halfway through this class, I literally had barely sweat.
Wow.
It was so weird.
That's great.
I was like, what's happening? Because I literally drank a full liter of water before I got into the class. I was hydrated, and then, my body just like wasn't sweating. So I was like, is that like a detox response? Had I already like cleansed out all the toxins? So yeah, really like just interesting. It's so fascinating just observing the body and mind over the course of something like this, because nothing's changing. In terms of your inputs, but like your body is experiencing something totally different.
Totally. Were you consuming electrolytes throughout the course of the week?
No.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I had a pinch of salt on day 2. And then I was having some of the Meraki methylene blue too. Like a few drops. But other than that, I didn't have anything else other than water.
Yeah, because you're probably so sensitive to anything. Like if you had I know you run full water. If you had caffeine, I can't even imagine how hard that would hit you.
I was in a coffee shop this morning, and
just the smell.
Dude, the smell was crazy. And I was like, if I had a coffee right now, I would like lose my mind.
Yes. So I'm guessing maybe in part, our buddy Pat Farrell, who talked about his 14-day fast a couple years ago, might have been some inspiration to you.
Oh, totally. And that was when I broke my 3-day fast.
Yes.
So I was like, when he said he did the 14 one, I was like, all right, so it's totally possible to do a 14-day fast. People have done it before. And I knew that there was something more at the end of that one. And yeah, I can talk a little bit about kind of the spiritual things that I was wrestling with, things that were coming up too. But yeah, I just knew that there was more there. And I felt like God was kind of nudging me to go for the 7-day one. So during the 7-day one, I was trying to like really push it with prayer time. So I did the longest prayer that I've ever done. So just sat, this is, not crazy long, but an hour just in silence and prayer, which
is a
was
very
great.
long, that's a long time.
Yeah. And it was awesome. Dude, it flew by. And just like had a lot of amazing insights, just a great feeling of gratitude. I feel like the prayers were a lot more like intimate. I don't know, just that like there's this weird sense that have you fasted much beyond a few days?
Most I've ever done is I think it was like 92 hours potentially.
Okay. Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you just kind of are a little bit more aware of like your senses when you're depriving yourself of one of your senses.
Yes.
So I felt like my antenna was just a little bit more in tune. And then when I got into prayer time, I was just doing kind of like silent prayer where it was just like, what does God have for me? And felt like there was a lot of deep insights on just kind of abiding in him, and like how prayer is just like a way to do a lot of inner work. And prayer and fasting is a way to do a lot of inner work. And just like stillness, like slowing down and kind of just reducing the noise. These are all kind of like thematic with fasting.
Yeah.
I feel like fasting is just kind of like stripping away the noise. But like those are the things that were coming up like fairly, like pretty obvious to me. Just, focus, concentration. I feel like it was just like almost like a mantra to like bring out of the fast into the next few months, is just really being just locked in, super focused on the things that are important, and just drop away everything else.
Yeah, it's probably tough to put words to just some of those feelings and emotions that you were actually experiencing too.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why fasting is really an important part of like any religion and spiritual practice, because the way that it tunes in your senses is just like nothing else. And I think most people, they don't even really get the ability to experience that. And sometimes I'm totally guilty of this, because we're just constantly in a state of like just always really needing food and drink around us 24/7.
Yeah.
So you never really get to experience that amazingness of just the body just operating under its own devices, which is really cool. Your dopamine is probably going to be, think about the dopamine, like how just tethered emotionally and physically we are to food. And I think it was really, for me, and I think you'll agree with this, it was really Case Bradford, I think, with that. He started doing some of the best content around fasting, in my opinion. He had like a really practical perspective on it, and just what you allow the body to do when you pull some of these inputs, like constantly digesting food, out of the equation. And so you think about people that, have autoimmune issues or just anything with an excess of inflammation, what the body can do and how it can repair itself just by, not having it combat the powers of digesting food. It's pretty amazing to think about.
Dude, I think I tracked the least important metric of this whole thing. Like, I think weight is not significant to track, even though obviously it's important for a lot of people. My body went through a total healing process these last 7 days. Like,
yeah,
100%. I don't know. Have you ever felt like in a deep, low inflammation state?
Where I don't have a lot of inflammation?
Like you obviously have. Like going from inflammation to low or no inflammation.
100%.
Like,
it's the best. It's so powerful.
And I didn't even think I was all that inflamed, but I think just letting my body kind of repair itself. It's this like beautiful piece of divine technology that knows exactly where to go, and it will send out different things to heal different organs. Like, I was reading something about how like the proteins in most organs are like fully mostly like fully repaired after, like they start to get fully repaired after like day 3. So if there's any like protein cells that are dying, it's like those after day 3, they're like fully repaired. So I'm just thinking like what else is happening in the body during that process that is bringing healing in and inviting healing in.
Yeah. And, it's like you get all those benefits because you were willing to push through those days where I'm sure there were potentially some tempting moments of like, dang, it would be so nice to like enjoy this meal, or you see someone having a steak or whatever, you just get really hungry. And then because you like were able to discipline the flesh, it's like you get all these incredible benefits on the other side of that.